I love animals. I love to cuddle with them. I love to play with them. I love it. I love being able to go on walks with them and training them. I just find it fascinating to be able to work with them because they have their own personality, you know. It's amazing to me how much an animal is like human, how much your pet really does become like your best friend, and especially when you get a dog that's so young, it really is amazing to watch them grow and everything.
I couldn't live without my dogs. I realized that when I was a freshman in college. I couldn't, obviously have one in the dorms, so I would go home all the time to visit my dog. And since then, I've adopted a few more, or raised a few more puppies. People get pet, they don't realize the responsibilities and the things that you have to know about having a pet, and how for me, I have 4 dogs. I go to school, but I can't be like the normal college kid going out every weekend. I go home every night to my dogs, make sure someone's there every day, while I'm not there letting my dogs out. You have to be responsible. You can't just get pets thinking it will be fun to have a pet. You have to know that there's a lot of hardships and a lot of money also involved. You have to be able to take care of them.
Well, euthanasia is probably the most difficult part of any person's job that works in animal welfare. Unfortunately, it's necessary in many cases, especially if you deal with a lot of the abused animals that are beyond rehabilitation, or some of the more aggressive animals that are just absolutely too unsafe to put back into the community. So euthanasia is an only option for those types of animals. However, when people in animal welfare have to euthanize a healthy animal simply because there's no room at their shelter, that's probably the most dire situation for any shelter employee. Nobody wants to do euthanasia.
If you have an animal who is severely injured or extremely ill, we need to consider the quality of life for the animal. Do we allow them to continue living and suffering, or should we let the animal go in peace through euthanasia?
Saddest reason, and that is space. We simply don't have the room. And in the peak seasons, from April until probably the end of September, that's when we are at our fullest capacity at our shelter. So we tend to see animals have to be euthanized for no other reason than the fact there's just no more room here. We are what you call an open admission shelter, which means when somebody brings us an animal from Ingham County, we take it in no matter what. We don't turn animals away. So if we don't have any room, we have to make room, and that's the really sad part, when you have to go back there and make a choice of an animal that's healthy by every other standard and very adoptable.
So they're about 4 months old. They're getting a little bit older, but they're going to be big dogs. They're going to be probably about 60, 70, maybe even 80 pounds. So they're going to be a large breed dog when they grow up.
In a lot of animal controls, when they euthanize pets, they're just not under good conditions. One of the things that they still have in Michigan is the gas chambers for dogs and cats, and they just put lots of animals in one chamber. They die slowly, and there are cases where animals have even survived that and, you know, come out. At other places, like in the South, sometimes they just execute animals by shooting them. So the only really humane way is to put them to sleep by injection and have them in a nice, comfortable area surrounded by somebody that cares for them so that their last remembrance is good. I'd say more recently it probably is due to the economy. There's more and more people losing their homes, and we often find that people leave their apartments or houses or whatever and leave animals behind because they don't know what to do with them. And those animals end up going to an animal control. And also in places like Detroit, there's just thousands of animals wandering the streets from people who have lost their homes.
Well, actually, our euthanasia rate is going down, but because we're taking a lot less animals, but the ratio is still high, and that's because now with the economy, we tend to be getting, the animals that we are getting in tend to be much sicker, and many are more injured than animals in the past. We're getting a lot of animals that belong to people that simply, they waited too long to get care for the animal because they couldn't afford it, so now they're bringing it to us, and the animal's very ill or very injured. So we're getting a lot more of those animals. Sometimes it's just laziness. They got a dog, they got a cat, didn't think it out very well, and it's chewing, it's digging, it's peeing on the carpet, and they really did not understand the training that was going to be involved or the discipline that would be involved in getting up, walking it, paying a vet bill to get it spayed or neutered, things like that. So they simply turn their problem over to the local animal shelter. Other reasons are people simply can't afford their pet any longer. For some reason they can't maintain the animal, it keeps getting out of the fence. I mean, there's a number of reasons. I mean, they run the gamut why people are bringing animals in. But the economy is a big part of it. But even before the economy, you know, went down the drain here, we still had people bringing animals in for very poor reasons, in my opinion. It sheds too much. They'll have a 10-year-old dog, and all of a sudden now they decided they want to travel. So they're taking their 10-year-old dog who's been loved and cared for to an animal shelter where it's frightened, scared, and wondering when they're coming back. So I mean, those reasons were happening before the economy. So it's really about people who aren't committed to the animal that they got in the first place.
I feel like the biggest problem at shelters with the euthanasia is that they have so many people that adopt them spur of the moment, want to help a dog or want to get a dog because it's fun. They don't realize how much it really does take to have a dog, how social they really are, and how much they really require of attention. Certain dogs obviously require more than others, so those are the dogs you see most in shelters, are the dogs that are pretty active and, you know, need a little bit more time with them. So, I mean, that's why a lot of them get put to sleep, is because people just don't realize it, and they get too many pets. And
then also, you know, making sure there's more resources out there for people to understand how to train, because even if you spayed and neutered every pet, your shelters would still be full because they're going to be full with animals that have behavior issues.
I think it's going to be hard to solve it unless people start to open their eyes and start to realize like the responsibilities of pet owning, and it's hard to do that without having a voice in there, out there saying things, you know, showing people will buy dogs from, you know, the pet stores, where those are mostly coming from puppy mills, versus going to the shelters to adopt is where they should go first. If you're not, you know, I show dogs, so I have purebred dogs that I get from a breeder. But if I wasn't showing dogs, or I didn't have a hobby with my certain type of dog, I would be more than willing to go to a shelter. You know, that's where people need to go first.
Come to the shelter, you'll understand when you see how many are kept at an animal shelter, the need for proper pet ownership. Microchip your pet. If your pet gets lost, gets away, it's picked up by a shelter, it can be taken in and scanned, and we can find you as a pet owner and reunite you a lot faster. So a lot of little things to think about, but it comes right back to responsible pet ownership.
Come into the shelter. The other thing is to come and volunteer. You can do anything from sitting in Kitty Kingdom to petting the cats and grooming them, to taking dogs for walks and playing with them. Get your dog in kitty fix if you can't have some of your own.
I mean, they already have a lot of them, but they need to have a lot more. If they didn't want to euthanize as many dogs, people need to be more willing to volunteer to just take them in for a couple weeks until they can find them a new home. They have to be taken care of, so they only have so many hands, so to have people volunteer is the biggest thing. You can volunteer and you can foster them. You don't have to keep them forever. You don't just keep them for a little while. And it's a good experience and a learning experience too.